Inktober belongs to the artists. Inktober belongs to you. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue this series just because it's becoming a little difficult to continue drawing and recording daily, or in this case, playing catch up when I've gotten busy with life. But also the response has been a bit minimal and I've been wanting to get back to color too. I do feel that I've gotten a lot out of this challenge and I will probably finish out the prompts, just not every day. If you are enjoying this series though and would like me to continue, please let me know in the comments. I'll post them as I have time to get them edited. It just won't be every few days like I was trying to do in the beginning. Hope is kind of an abstract concept, and while we do have a lot of recognized symbols of hope, such as the dove, I wanted to do something that was closer to my preferred subject matter. I love doing plants and flowers, so I thought spring buds on a tree branch would be a great representation of the word hope. For this piece, I knew I wanted to use a type of wet in wet technique for the background, so it would look like blurry tree branches behind the main subject. I wet the page first and then painted in the branches using a very watered down ink wash. I later decided these needed to be a little darker, so I went over them again and softened the edges with a damp brush. For the foreground, I used the pigment liners to draw in the outlines. After my last three drawings that were quite simple and focused mostly on achieving texture with the ink, wash, and gouache, I wanted to shift into using the pen more to create textures and shading with the lines. This is an especially difficult thing for me as it isn't something I've ever really done. My pencil sketches include shading in the form of scratch marks, and that's about as far as it goes, if I sketch at all. I try to use different spacing between the lines to indicate areas of more or less shading and combine that with the ink wash to get the desired effect. After that, I added some sketchy lines with the white paint pen, which made it feel more finished to me. I had a lot of weird ideas for disgusting, but none of them seemed like something I had the stomach to draw. Eventually, I decided on a landfill scene with birds picking scraps out of the heaps of garbage. I thought it would present me a good challenge as far as coming up with ways to show that it was piles of garbage and not just rolling hills or mountains or something. I first sketched out the general areas of what I wanted, and then I drew in random shapes all over the pile in the foreground. I knew I was going to make the background piles more abstract and squiggly, which is another technique I actually really like the look of, but I've never really used in my own work. I used tighter squiggle patterns for each pile that was closer so it would be clear which ones were in the back. Then I went over it with the brush pen because I didn't feel like the pile in the front really stood out enough. For the ink wash, I wanted to do a bloomy, inky mess, but I don't feel like that was really achieved. That's definitely something I want to work more on figuring out how to do the way I envision it. It could be the paper too, and I'm not sure exactly how this might be different on cotton paper or mixed media paper. I made the piles in the background lighter in color so they would look like they were fading away into the distance. After the wash was done, I realized I'd actually forgotten all about my little bird in the front, so I went over it with the white paint pen. I kind of wish I'd done some white and black splatter for this one, as I think it really would have lent to the gritty, nasty atmosphere, so maybe I'll do this one again on another page when I'm done with all the rest. This prompt was actually kind of easy as far as coming up with an idea, or maybe I just couldn't stop thinking about slimy eels. It was the first thing I thought of, and I ended up really liking my initial sketch, so I just went with it. I used a very small size pigment liner for this so I could make it look like it was really wet and slippery. I liked the initial line work quite a bit, but as I started adding the ink wash, I didn't like it as much. I tried to save it with the white paint pen, but that just wasn't working. I decided that if I kept messing with it, the thing would just start looking worse and worse, and I didn't want to completely ruin it since I only have just enough pages left in this sketchbook to finish the Inktober prompts. There's really not much to say about this one. I'm not a huge fan of it. I almost feel like I should have just left it at the sketch stage with the pigment liner, but it just didn't look finished at that point. I wanted to get the grayness of the eel, which I thought was a perfect subject for an ink wash. I'm not really sure what happened here, to be honest. The ink isn't as bold and dark as I would like it to be, and the slippery wet effect really doesn't come across. Perhaps I'll do some studies from references at some point to see if I can nail it down, because at the moment I don't know what I did wrong, but I clearly didn't get it right. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by giving it a thumbs up and tell me what you thought in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!